Hi, my name is Meghan Montgomery, and I'm the Clinical Director of 3L Place. I'm going to talk today about the module Daring to Dream. Daring to Dream's goals and objectives are fairly succinctly stated here, so I'm going to read through them and I will add on additional details as we dig into the objectives. The goals are members engage in exploration, utilize multisensory based imagining, and other expressive modalities to assist with goal development. The learning environment involves both individualized and small group activities, sometimes in the same space. Members have daily opportunities to practice and stretch their creativity in their expressions, interactions, thoughts, and actions. This module taps into the imaginative capacity of each individual, following their lead always on a topic or passion, or exposing them to new areas of interest or relevant content, current events, things going on in the disability world that are of interest or relevance to our members. The objectives are creating collaborative art projects and utilizing group problem solving. And a simple example of this would be making a handprint wreath where we had to trace our hands. We had to trace at least two other people's hands on different colored paper. Everyone cut out their hands to the best of their own ability. And then we had a pile of hands sitting in front of us, but how do we turn that into a wreath? And so members had to problem solve that together, and so they do. Partaking in outings or listening to guest speakers. One of our members' sister is a doctor in Haiti and does some really interesting work there. She came and shared a slideshow of her experiences there, and then we translated some of her pictures into creative paper mosaics. Participating in media-based problem solving, brain games, improvisation, and role-playing. Delving into research projects on various topics led by members' interests. Sometimes our members will pick out books at the library on an animal of interest, a wildebeest, an elephant, a stork, and they'll take those books and utilize the information and images to help build their knowledge bank. Embracing and implying a disability positive sense of self and community. Our constant refrain here is presume competence. Just because I can't speak or can't speak easily or fluidly does not mean I can't think. So we honor the output styles of all of our members and trust that their intelligence is there. Last, bolstering background knowledge and skills of members to become more active and informed members of society. This is another objective of Daring to Dream. I thought it might be helpful to give an example of some of our themes. On Mondays and Tuesdays, we've been focusing on science and self. Flight, float, kites, sound, indoor and outdoor variables that influence those. For instance, we constructed popsicle stick boats, and on the day that we went to float them, it was so windy that they took off, but not in the direction we wanted. Service animals, we've been learning about too, digging deeper into why they exist, who they serve, how you treat a service animal, do's and don'ts, and so forth. Growing your own gardens, which is obviously a metaphor for growing ourselves, nurturing and self-care. Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have healthy relationships, sexuality, and advocacy, which I'm going to dig into deeper in a moment. But for now, we are amidst hatching chickens and will be donating them to a local farm. Fridays are kind of an extension of what we've been doing on Mondays and Tuesdays. As an expressive therapist, our expressive therapies group focuses a fair bit on 3D construction, such as boats, where we wonder, do they sink or float? Planes, do they fly or crash? Kites, how do they lift off with our constructed kite tails? And last, we enjoy focusing on famous people and places connected to our creative experientials. So next I'm going to focus here on our unit, Healthy Relationships, Sexuality, and Advocacy. To measure accessibility in this area for our members, we had them generate a variety of questions and ideas in advance, which enabled us to have a thoughtful and open group discussion honoring the output styles of our members. Some of the questions members generated during that discussion were, do you know how the people have sex? Sexuality was fun. It can be personal. How do you know about the good touch and the bad touch? Why do people want to have sex? Where do babies come from? Do you suggest any YouTube videos to help us learn more about this topic? Can you accidentally get pregnant? What is a pregnancy test? So where to start? Do we start with members? Do we start with families and caregivers? Do we start with the staff? We were left thinking a lot about the unique learning styles of our members, the different histories that people have with body-based traumas, the various levels of background knowledge that members do or don't have, their availability and ability to communicate verbally or non-verbally, real-time or not, their regulatory challenges, and how that may affect accessing the content, or does the content itself create regulatory challenges? And then managing family caregiver opinions that range from not interested in having my member attend that group to it's about time. So we take in all this information and determine what does a member want as an adult themselves, aside from external opinions. The safest starting place felt like focusing on healthy relationships and digging deeper into that before going into stuff that is more alerting to both members and families, such as the sexuality component. I briefly discussed the sexuality training and certificate process with members and families. I assess where each member is at with visual materials. Pose questions such as, is anyone currently in a relationship? Is anyone interested right now or potentially in the future? Is anyone scared or worried about what it might mean to be in a relationship? And the answers to these questions are all right. There's no wrong. And so it led to the following sequence, starting with healthy relationships. The second part is sexuality, and then the third part is advocacy. After our first group on healthy relationships, one of our members was quite struck by the content and conversation and the fact that we were finally delivering something that they had been waiting to learn and hear more about for a long time. Love is something this particular member thinks a lot about, and the member was able to leave the group and type the next day that I'm young and free to find my every dream life. Real interested in my future with finding a true person to love and marry. This person must intend to love me back. Each time my heart hurts, it's getting harder. I'm lone in this autistic world. Searching is too hard. I wish it was like Disney. I'm interested in happily ever after. So you can see how much reflection and thought happened during that group and afterwards. And this person's ability to communicate it in a non-spoken way is remarkable and guiding to me as both a clinician and a leader. Safety is a critical piece of healthy relationships, sexuality, and advocacy. Within this section of the unit, we focus a lot not only on safe people, but safe spaces. What is a safe space in your home when you are distressed? What is a safe space in your day program when you're distressed? What is a safe space in the community should you separate from the group? Would it be a brick wall leaning up against it instead of floating in space? The Safe People booklet is an outlet experience to help support members if they should come into some sort of distress or crisis where it is hard to communicate. So the idea is that they have created this little mini booklet that has 3 images and phone numbers of the safe people in their lives that are accessible should they be in need. Since we always place heavy emphasis on carrying our wallets out and about in the community, our wallets house the Safe People booklet, and our thinking is that our members who are less able to verbally communicate in a crisis might interface with security or a good-intentioned person who might say, "Do you have your wallet on you?" or "Do you have ID?" And our members could at least pull out their wallet to initiate this process of reaching out for support. I think the most important part of this slide is looking at how it's broken down into these 18 different lessons for Unit 1 of Healthy Relationships, Sexuality, and Advocacy. The visual timeline tells members where they are each week and what they're focusing on. You can see as you go along, when you finish 2, you're on to 3, and there are 3 left to go in that section. When you finish 6, you're moving into a different unit, and we preview what is coming throughout this. And then within that structure, you can see specifically what we are covering today, the materials that are required, and then where we're headed next. So lesson 2 is an example that ties into what I've been talking about. We're going to dig a little bit deeper into that. Some of the questions in lesson 2 are, what is a group? What is a leader? What are group dynamics? How does all of this stuff create safety? And why does it even matter? So you see on the left some images of media that provide common affect currency at 3L Place. All members appreciate them, have knowledge of them, and can speak fairly fluently or type fluently about the relationship between many of the characters. So we use this as an opportunity to break down these discussion points into who gets along with who struggles with another character, does anyone talk too much, is anyone miserable, is anyone too silly? Does anyone show natural group leadership skills? Are there any crushes or romantic moments? Rejections? Anything else? And what this ultimately leads to is creating group agreements where we work towards creating safety and a group contract, which we've all come up with together, signed off on, placed visibly on the wall, which helps us create safety early on in the healthy relationship section. The idea is that the safety is in place for when we move into sexuality, where the topic can become a little bit more awkward or uncomfortable depending on who you are. And at that point, this is already in place.